What's going on, YouTube? This is going to be a technical analysis part 2 for beginners. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on technical analysis and the approach that I'm having when going into the market. So as you can see, I'm going to start off just looking at just on TradingView. I'm going to get a little bit more in depth on the things that you need to implement onto your charts in order to trade and in order to know what you're doing so that there's a correlation. So right now I just have a ticker on the screen. This is Archer Aviation. If you want to search up this company, this is not financial advice. Go ahead by all means. But let's just get into it. So TradingView, if you look at my previous video, I went a little bit in depth on TradingView and the things that you want to target. But I want to go a little bit more in depth on how to utilize it. So on TradingView, this is what you have. This is a chart. I'm looking at ticker symbol ACHR Archer. So what you'll do is you'll press down and you'll click settings. Okay. When you click settings, you'll see. Let's start from symbols. Okay. So these are my settings on how my chart is. So the body of the candlestick is green. You can switch it to any color that you want. So like, as you can see in the background, you can switch it to yellow. If you want your candlesticks to be yellow, you can switch it to yellow. So that just means that whenever price is going up, the candlesticks are yellow for you. And when price is going down, these candlesticks are red. But for me, I'm going to keep it green because that's the color I like. Okay, so this is the most important thing on your settings that you want to have. So on the data modification, on the sessions, you want to put extended trading hours, okay? The reason for this is because extended trading hours will allow you to see what price is doing after the market is closed, okay? So I'm going to switch over to the regular trading hours. And the regular trading hours, you see how the chart is now just blank. It doesn't have the orange and the light blue. Okay, so you want to make sure that you put extended trading hours on, and what this does is it shows you what price is doing depending on what time frame you're looking at that specific time. So I'm gonna go down. So I'm in a 4 hour now, but I'm gonna go down to 15-minute time frame. So in the 15-minute time frame, this dark navy blue or black, whatever you want to call it, this is when the market is open. Okay, so the market opens, I'm going to write it out for you guys. The market opens at 9:30 a.m. okay, and then it closes at 4 p.m. okay. Then you have after hours. After hours starts at 4. So if I just hover over this, right? You look at military. If you know military time, you would just do 12, and that would be 4 p.m. And after hours would start from 4 p.m. and it would end at 7:45. Around 7:45 p.m. 8 p.m. Okay. So it will start at 4 p.m. and end at 8 p.m. around that time. And then you have pre-market hours, okay? Pre-market hours is the orange zone or brown zone, whatever you want to call it. And these hours are from 4 a.m., okay, to 9:30 a.m. So all it is a cycle, okay? And you can switch these colors to whatever colors you would like. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same colors as me. These are just the colors that I like. But just so, okay, if I was to switch my pre-market hours, which would be from 4 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., this would be the yellow. So I'll take this off. That would be the yellow. Okay, and if I was to switch my after hours, which is after the market closes at 4 p.m., I'll switch it to, let's just say, pink. This is how it will look. So that's all it is. So these are just the different times, the time sessions, okay? But I'm gonna switch it back to the colors that I had before. because these are the colors that work for me. This is just what I like, and you can switch it to whatever you want. And this is why I like TradingView, because you know it's very fun, and you could switch it to your liking. Okay, so that's the first setting that you want to, how you want to set up your symbols. And then you have status lines. So the status lines is simply right here on this right side. You'll see title, or at the top you'll see the logo at the top. It'll show you the logo, it'll show you the title of the stock, and it will show you the chart value. So the chart value, you see how this, when I click this is erasing. This is chart values, okay? So it's gonna show you the open, high, low, close of the candlestick depending on the time frame that you on, okay? So let's get into it. Let me just give you a preview of that. So if you're on the 15-minute time frame, right? Let me reset the chart. Okay, if you're on a 15-minute time frame, you see how I'm hovering my cursor over this candlestick? So, okay, this is 9:15. The next candle will be 9:30. So this is when the market opens, okay? So this candlestick opened here. It opened here at the top. So I want you to notice too, whenever there is a bearish candlestick, the open is above the close, okay? Because if something is going down, if the candlestick is going down and closing below, it's gonna open high, it's gonna open above the close, it's gonna make a high, and it's gonna go low, and then it's gonna close at the bottom because it's making progress down. And if the candlestick is bullish now, so I'm hovering over this candlestick, right? It's gonna open by the low, it's gonna go high, and it's gonna close above the open. So you see how I'm hovering over this candlestick? Let's go back to settings, okay? This is for the this is for the chart. This is for the chart values, okay? You see how when I click it, it goes away? So all this is simply telling you that, okay, this candlestick opened at 10:19. It went as high as 10:28, and it went as low as 10:15, and then it closed at 10:28. Okay, so the close is above the open. So that's all you need to know. The close for the green candlestick is above, and the close for the rest candlestick is below. Okay, and it took 15 minutes for this to happen. Okay, and then if I go down to the 5-minute time frame, you'll just have more data to play with, and it's the same thing. It's just a different time frame. Okay, so let's move on. So you can, depending on how you like to trade and what works for you, you can check off these boxes or you can leave them on. Scales and lines, okay? So this is my settings for my scales and lines. So as you can see, you see how I changed that to yellow? I just like the color red. You can switch it to any color that you would like. And remember, before the value, the pre-market and post-market. So pre-market is before the market opens, and then the post is after the market when it closes. So remember, the orange is pre-market, before the market opens. You want to look at where price is at pre-market before you day trade. I like to look at pre-market hours, at least an hour to 45 minutes before I enter a trade, or before I even think about what ticker I'm going to focus on, because this is going to allow you to identify the direction or if it's a trend. Okay, so you can play off of that, and then you can play off your levels depending on if you're a supply and demand trader, or if you're a trend trader, or if you're a support and resistance trader, if you like to take break and retest, or break and rejects, or bounces. It just all depends on your trading style. Okay, and then your high and low, you have your high and low and your bid and ask. So you see how, like, right here, this white line is showing me that, okay, when I'm in my trades, if price is showing me like yellow, that means that the buyers are buying more than the sellers. And if price is showing the red, that means that the sellers are selling more than the buyers. And it's going to give you a direction of where the candlestick is going, okay? The body of the candlestick. Okay, the canvas now, my background is simply just solid. And then my grid lines, I just have it on 0. My crosshair, you see it? This is it right here. You can change it to any color that you want. And you also can make it bold if you want. You can put it to however you like it, whatever is comfortable for you, okay? So look, this is good. Right now, I'm actually making this video at 4 a.m. So check this out. Remember how I said this is pre-market hours. So as you can see right now, as we speak, this is this is pre-market hours. Okay, so you cannot trade during pre-market hours, and you cannot trade during after hours. You can only trade during the current, when the stock market opens, which is at 9:30. So like I said, this is just going to show you a direction of where the price is going. Okay, so right now, this is the session that we're in. We're in the pre-market session. Okay, let me go back to settings, and then this is what I have on my trading. This is my alerts. This is how I have it. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, and then this right here is these are just my indicators of what I like to use. So I started, so that way I don't have to come back and forth and click it. I just have it right here just in case I need to make any adjustments. Okay, so I have the cross here. I use the info line. I use the horizontal lines. I use the horizontal ray. This is a horizontal ray. What else am I using? I use this sometimes when I get in trades. You can also change the color of this if you want to. It just all depends on what you like and what works for you. Obviously, I'm using the brush sometimes, the arrow maker, arrows, the rectangle, the path, circle, and you can use any of these. You don't have to use specifically what I'm using. I'm just showing you what is comfortable for me and what I like. And obviously the text, when you write, you can change the color, you can change the font, okay? Okay, so let's get into it. So I just wanted to just give you a little breakdown. Let me see. Okay, my indicators, sorry. So let me go over my indicators. So these are the indicators that I have. I use volume. Sometimes I use the orb. So the orb, my orb settings are set on from 9:30 to 9:45. So I want to see the first 15 minutes. I want to see how the market is moving for the first 15 minutes. And then I'll have my bias. So okay, is this trend bullish? Is it bearish? Or is it consolidating? So check out my first video on technical analysis part 1. I know that video is kind of blurry and I apologize, but this video is going to be very clear, and you guys are going to be able to have more clarity. Okay, you also can so let me go down to the 5 minutes. So on the orb, you can change the color to your liking again. Okay, so if I know that if price is above this yellow line, it may be bullish because it's breaking out of that 15-minute orb. So I like to keep it this color, obviously. You can change the thickness of how you want it to be, so that way you can be able to see it visibly. I use the 8 EMA. Sometimes I used to use the 21 EMA, but like ever since I started figuring out how I want to trade, I like to see price more clearer, so I like to have less things on my chart. So I use the 8 EMA, and all this is if price action is showing me that it's closing under the 8 EMA, then it's giving me another confluence that the trend or the price action is bearish. So as you can see right now, price is under this 8 EMA, and it's bearish. It's showing you that it's bearish, so you can get in puts. You don't want to necessarily just get in puts just because of that though. You want to see price, go back to my first video, you want to see price making failing to make highs, and you want to see price making lower lows and lower highs. Okay, then I use the VWAP. The VWAP is the volume weighted average price. Okay, so I never buy calls under VWAP. I'm only buying calls above VWAP. So as you can see, price, just for this example, price is under VWAP. So I'm only going to be looking to I'm only going to look to get into puts, because my two indicators, I have an 8 EMA and VWAP crossover with rising bearish volume, right? And price is failing to make new highs. So I have a lot of confluences there. And sometimes I like to use the 200 SMA, but I usually like to use the 200 SMA on the higher time frames. And this just gives me an idea, okay, are we bullish or bearish? So as you can see, the 200 SMA on the 1 hour time frame, the price is above it right now. But as you can see, when price is below the 200 SMA, you see a bearish structure. But you can see previously, a couple days ago, price was in a bearish structure, but then it failed to make new lows, and then it made a new high, and now it's just correcting at this level, right? Because above this level, price is bullish. So I want to see price hold this base level and get above, and I'll either take calls, right? I'll take calls to these sellers at this lower high, right? Or I'll wait for price to reach here and then reject. So everything is about patience. So I want to see price hold this. That'll be a higher low, make a high, come back down, retest this level, and then go. Okay, that's how I would like to play it, just to be safe. My next thing that I like to use is pivot highs, pivot HL. So that all that is pivot high lows, and these are my settings for that. My inputs, I have 10, 10, 10. Okay, you can change the color on it, so I put it on, and then you can change the color to this too. Okay. And all this does is just shows me, this just shows me where the swing points are at. Okay, so let me take off the AEMA, let me take off VWAP, let me take off this. All this is doing is just allowing me to better understand where I should mark my swing highs or my swing lows. And it may not give you all the swing highs or swing lows, but it will give you most of them. But that's when you just have to go in on the higher time frames and then scale down and then figure out, okay, what swing highs and swing lows do you think is significant, okay? So I like to use that indicator. And then shout out to my boy LED. This is an indicator that I like to use as well. I like to use this to give me a better confluence when the market opens. So let's just say, for example, right, if I go to reset chart, okay, so you see how it's going to set to the previous day, but if you look back, and you can also change the colors on these too. Sorry if I'm moving fast. If you go to inputs, I know that, okay, if I put this green, then I know, okay, above this is bullish, right? Because this is it's gonna tell you previous day highs, okay, previous day lows, okay. So as you can see, price was in an uptrend, right? If price was gonna continue to go up, then we would have continued to go up, but it failed to go up, and price couldn't break above this previous day high, okay. This is the previous day high right here, right? Pre-market and after hour, it was above the previous day high before that, but it couldn't continue to go up. And as soon as the market opened, it sold up. And as you can see, you can tell, right? This line, this little wick right here is showing me that there is selling pressure. So you see that wick right here? So I'll wait. This is why I like to wait for the orb, wait 15 minutes and put on my orb sometimes, to allow me to figure out where the trend is going. So you can use this as a strategy, right? Price couldn't break above this orb. So, okay, now I know, okay, the trend may be bullish, right? This low is not holding, and look what happened. Price came here, it couldn't make new highs, and it made a new low, right? Then it tried to go back above and made a lower high, and then it made a lower, and then it made a lower low. So right there alone, you could have made money just off that trade, just alone, because you followed the rules. If there's no trend, you do not trade. If there's no higher highs and higher lows being made, right, and price reverses, then that means that you need to shift your mindset, and you need to go into a bearish sentiment and go off your bearish strategies, right, or go off your bearish concepts by reading either price action, candlesticks, or just the trend simply. And also, if I put on my EMAs, this is showing me another confluence. Price can't go higher. I have my 8 EMA crossing below VWAP, and price action is below my moving averages, and it retested, right? This green line right here would be would technically be the previous day's high, and price is closing below the previous day's high. So that's a confluence for me to get into puts. Okay, that's how I like to read the market. That's what I learned, and I'm still getting better. But that's an A+ setup to me, and you have rise in value. Okay, so you could have literally just took puts. You could have waited for price to retest this previous day high, right? Because this is the previous day high. This is the high of on the 12th. Okay, and then you could have just took it down to this zone right here, because as you can see, below that zone, price was bearish. That's why I have it marked. So below that zone, price was bearish. So you simply could have just took puts down to this zone right here and got out, or you could have just trailed it, okay? Whenever price breaks your EMA, get out your trade, respect your stop loss, okay? But I don't want to get too deep into that right now. That's going to be for another video, okay? Okay, so let's move into some technical stuff, okay? So I'm just going to show you different concepts. So remember, higher high, higher low, right? So remember, right here is a higher low. As long as the higher lows are holding, then you know that the trend is still bullish, okay? So I'm gonna mark, you're gonna start from a low right here, once again. Then this is a high, right? At this level, this was a high, but people are taking profits. So that means that there are sellers right here at this level, pushing price down to grab more buyers, right? So buyers could simply be, depending on how you trade, you could look at it as demand zones. You could look at it as a support zone. There are buyers at demand zones and there are buyers at support levels, okay? So I'll switch this to green so you can understand it. Oops, my bad. I'll switch this to green so you can understand. So this is just showing me that, okay, this is the demand zone correlated to a higher low. So that means that, okay, there's a trend forming, okay, low, high, higher low, then price breaks above this previous high and it creates a higher high, okay? And then it comes back to retest that previous high. So price broke, it made a high, right? It sold off because there were sellers here, but there are no more sellers here. So now price, because the demand zone have more buyers, right? Then, so indication, corrected back to the higher low, and then continuation to make new highs, right? And then it starts all over again. Indication, correction, continuation, okay? So this is a higher high, okay? Higher low, oh, my bad. And this is a higher low and then higher high, okay? The moment price, the moment you want to shift shift the sentiment of, okay, this is no longer uptrend, is when price does this. It'll start making equal highs and equal lows, okay? Then it will break below that previous higher low, and this will be an indication. Remember, whenever there is a new low or high, that means that you need to shift the sentiment of what you are thinking, right? Because that is showing you that the trend is changing. So once I have an indication now, this is a low, right? You want to see, to confirm that the trend is changing now, you want to see price come either right here. Price doesn't always have to go back to this level, even though it broke. It can come right here and go down. It can go all the way back up here and come down, right? Because it doesn't matter, as long as this is lower than these previous highs, it's a lower high, and it can go like this, okay? So just so you can understand it, I'll make it like this. So, okay, this is a lower high. This is what you're going to look for. And right here would be the area where you will look to get into puts. Because now you know, okay, it's confirmed. Price was in an uptrend. It couldn't make new highs, right? It broke through this previous higher low, right? And it made a low. This is the indication. It corrected back into that higher low, right? And it may trick you. It may be like, it may make you think that, okay, we're back bullish, but no, it's just simply just correcting and grabbing liquidity, going back into the zone, creating a lower high, and then it's gonna drop back down and create a lower low, right? And then it could just simply start making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and then once price makes a high and then a higher low, then it starts like this, then you know, okay, now we're back in the uptrend now, okay? So I just clone this, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then I'll use this rectangle box right here, okay? This will be the high. And then to confirm that, okay, we're back in the uptrend now, I'll simply just clone this higher low. Now you have a higher low. You want this higher low to hold. If this higher low holds, then now you know, okay, just like how price was, right, previously over here. My bad. Just how price was previously over here, you're looking for this now. You're looking for the trend, okay? All you're looking for is to trade the trend. Like, if you trade the trend, then you know that you're following the rules. Whenever you're not trading the trend, then you're not following rules and you're gonna get slaughtered. It's that simple, okay? Let me go over another concept. Let me start off, if you're in the downtrend, so I start off from right here. This will be a high, then a low, right? Then a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, then a high, higher low, then a higher high, retest this level, okay? So price is coming down from a high, low, lower high, because this lower high is lower than this high. Then it makes a lower low, then lower high, lower low, then a high, then a higher low, high, higher low. Okay, so all you have to do is just stay glued on to price. But you also want to do this you also want to make sure that when you're looking for levels, you want to make sure that you're looking for levels on the 4-hour and 1-hour time frame. And then you want to scale down to the 15-minute or 5-minute to find your entries, okay? I'm not going to really go into deep into that right now in this video, but I'll show you an example. So I was looking at Coinbase yesterday, okay? Coinbase was a beautiful chart. So as you can see, this is the 4-hour time frame, okay? Let's go to the 15-minute time frame. Reset chart. Okay, so you can see, right? If I just zoom out, Coinbase was in a downtrend. And you may not understand what's going on, and if you don't, just write in the comments so I'll make more videos to just explain it to you, right? But price was in a downtrend, right? And as you can see right here, it couldn't make new lows, right? So it started to make higher lows, right? I put on the pivot high low. Let's go to the 1-hour. Okay. So high, higher low, lower high, right? Lower low. Then it gapped up. This is a gap, right? High, higher low, lower high, low. Then it made a high. Then it failed to make new highs, right? You can see price started going down. This is on the 1-hour. Once you see price stopping its direction, then you just want to scale down to the smaller time frame to get a better look at what's going on. Okay, so I'll scale down to the 5-minute or even 3-minute time frame. You see like these low, because I was just tracking price. This is I like to do this just so I can get better. So as you can see, price was bullish. Price was bullish, right? You could have took this trade, but remember, indication and then price corrected. If I put on my LED indicators, right? Remember, above this green, this was the previous day's high, okay? So price broke out above the previous day high, so that's very bullish, right? But there wasn't really a retest, but even so, if I put on my AEMA and VWAP, you can see prices above there. You see a lot of bullish volume, right? And then price stopped right here. It couldn't make new highs, right? Price couldn't make new highs right there. Let me go back to the 3-minute time frame. So it couldn't make new highs, and it made a higher low. This higher low couldn't hold, and price broke, right? And then as you can see, it made a lower high. I would have gotten puts right here off of this candle. This candle right here is showing me that there's sellers here up under this level. And if I look back left, right, previously, what happened when price was under here? Price sold off. That's why I have it marked. Okay, so I would have got into puts, right? Lower high, and look what price is doing. High, higher low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and it just tanked. So price went from 327 all the way to 344, and then from 344 all the way down to 321. So if you simply would have just followed the trend, whether it's an uptrend or downtrend, you simply would have made money easily, okay? And also remember, let me show you something, because I showed you an uptrend, I showed you a downtrend more in depth. Something like this in this area, you don't want to trade. This is consolidation. You do not want to trade consolidation. Okay, never trade consolidation, because there's something called Greeks, and I'll do a video on that later on in the channel, or you can search it up on your own. But you don't want your contracts to decay. Like if you got into price action, if you got into a call or put in once price did, well, you could have gone to puts right here, but for these 3 days, price was just consolidating. You want to wait for it to break out and create a higher low if it's in an uptrend, or you want to see price make a lower low and lower high if it's in a downtrend, and then enter your trade. Your entries is very important, okay? Thank you for watching. Comment down below if you have any questions. Let me know what you guys are thinking, and make sure you subscribe and like.